Hi everyone, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton here with our weekly update here on social media. Thanks for joining us this week. A lot to talk about. New developments with Mueller's attack on President Trump. I'll talk about that, give you my reaction to this outrageous abuse of power by Robert Mueller this week. Also, we have new documents coming out about Clinton emails. She was warned about the security risks. We've got testimony showing that, plus documents showing how Hillary Clinton was giving special treatment by the FBI, even as the FBI is targeting President Trump. You're not going to believe it. But first up is the big news this week is Robert Mueller's press conference. I wouldn't even call it a press conference. It was a press statement. He came out, made a statement lasting about 9 minutes, took no questions, in which he reiterated the fake obstruction theory that he had put forward in the infamous Mueller dossier, as I call it. He acknowledged, as we all know, there's no collusion. There's no evidence of collusion. So that in many ways should have just ended the investigation. But the Mueller operation, which has shown itself to be partisan, biased, abusive, you name it, decided to go after the president on this tenuous theory of obstruction. Why is it tenuous? Because the theory of the case was that if President Trump was firing people like James Comey, daring to complain about the Mueller operation, he could be accused of obstruction of justice. But in point of fact, the president runs the executive branch. All these prosecutors answer to him. He has the constitutional authority and sometimes duty to fire and police them regarding misconduct. So they really had no business investigating the president, quote, for being president. But Mr. Mueller once again smeared the president this week in the press conference, suggesting that, again, quoting those controversial lines from the report, if he could have exonerated him, he would have. You know, that's the Alice in Wonderland approach to criminal justice. Verdict first, evidence later. So he's presumed the president guilty, and then says he's failed to exonerate him. Well, as you know, our system of justice, especially as it's supposed to be implemented by the Department of Justice, presumes people targeted to be innocent. And if they can't bring charges, then they're innocent. That's the presumption of innocence. And to have a Justice Department official, that was his last gasp as special counsel, because he announced, I guess, he's closing the special counsel down, come out and imply a private citizen committed a crime, but for an opinion of the Justice Department that the president can't be indicted, he would be indicted, to me is just an outrageous abuse of power. And you know, if you've been following me here, I've never thought the Mueller report should have been written, because it was, as I said, an abuse of power in the sense the Justice Department had no business commenting on the president's duties as president. So you had that outrage, and they came up with 200 pages of, when several pages could have been done, about no collusion, and 200 pages intimating through gossip, innuendo, and as I say, legal higgle-piggle, or argle-bargle, you pick the term, suggesting improper activities by the president. But that wasn't enough for Mueller, because as I've talked with you about this before, Attorney General Barr saw this report before anyone else did, at least publicly, and he saw through what the Mueller operation was trying to do, dumping 400 pages of noise into Washington, D.C. to suggest through smoke and mirrors there was misconduct. And Mueller quickly concluded no collusion, and all this legal gamesmanship doesn't amount to a hill of beans in terms of obstruction. The law and the facts didn't warrant any indictment or any charges or any suggestion of criminal activity. So the impeachment momentum suffered a significant setback. That's why they're attacking Mueller. That's why they're threatening to jail Mueller. Congress is. But even that's not working because, not jail Mueller, but jail Barr, excuse me. That's why they're trying to target Attorney General Barr, because he blew up this effort to take out the president through the issuance of this report. And so the Mueller special counsel operation decided to escalate it. and they did it directly through Robert Mueller. You know, you haven't heard me criticize Mueller personally that much. Probably more. I've probably been more direct about Mueller's personal responsibilities and that he can't be trusted because of prior issues related to government corruption. But I think at least he had plausible deniability as running the special counsel, that he had all these crazy anti-Trump Democrats, pro-Hillary Clinton Democrats like Andrew Weissman running the operation, that he was kind of above it all, right? Well, he showed his true colors this week, didn't he? As an anti-Trump political activist. And I tell you what, for the Justice Department to allow him to have used this podium at the Justice Department to insert himself into the political debate over whether to impeach President Trump, that was a terrible mistake. And Attorney General Barr seems like a good guy. He seems like he understands the corruption at the heart of Spygate, is willing to do at least something about it. But I think he's been entirely too deferential to Mr. Mueller. And maybe it was politically impossible for him to get in the way of Mueller wanting to issue this press statement. But Mr. Mueller abused his authority on top of the abuse of the 400-page report he tried to smear the president with, by coming out and suggesting, without foundation, the president committed a crime. If he committed a crime, he should have said he committed a crime. And suggesting quite strongly, I wouldn't even call it a dog whistle, I call it a horn, to Congress that they can impeach him for the obstruction of justice charges that he was unable to show, unable to prove, or even to suggest happened. I've told you, don't bother reading the report, right? Well, if you want to go ahead, go read the report. And you're going to see there was no obstruction of justice. The president was truthful. He was cooperative. He rightly fired Mr. Comey over misconduct. And then he sees all these other abuses of power by the Mueller operation, the DOJ, and he starts complaining about that. Frankly, he should have shut down the Mueller operation. He would have been within his rights, constitutionally speaking, and as a matter of policy, to shut down this unconstitutional, abusive investigation. Mueller made a big show saying, well, we showed the Russians were interfering in the election. We didn't need a special counsel to show that. The evidence strongly suggests Russians were trying to interfere in the election. They haven't proven it yet. Let's be clear. Because the cases they brought against Russians on Russia collusion, on the idea of Russian interference, they aren't going to trial. Because they were indicting people abroad. They were never going to show up in court. And of course, Mueller didn't look at the idea that the Russians interfered in the election through Hillary Clinton, whose campaign used Russian intelligence through Fusion GPS to sic the Obama FBI and DOJ onto President Trump's team and President Trump directly. If you want to know about the basic corruption of the Mueller operation, he was tasked with investigating Russian interference in our campaigns, and he refused to look at Hillary Clinton's involvement in enabling that. You know why? Because his investigation was partisan. He was making use and investigating the corrupted dossier to target the Trump team. I know some folks are hesitant about the idea of Mueller testifying to Congress, and he says he's not going to answer any more questions. I don't know about you, but when I hear a public official saying they're not going to answer any more questions from Congress, especially someone where there are so many questions about their corruption and activities, my back gets up. And I've long been of the view that Mr. Mueller should have been questioned by Congress as this investigation was ongoing, given all the controversies. He went out of his way to talk about and extol the virtues of the team he put together. Andrew Weissman, He couldn't manage to, who was a Hillary Clinton supporter, went to Hillary Clinton's election night party, sent an email, as Judicial Watch uncovered, to Sally Yates, the Obama holdover who was acting AG, supporting and praising Yates for lawlessly refusing to defend President Trump's entirely lawful travel ban. Really outrageous. Peter Strzok, the anti-Trump FBI agent, fired. He was part of the Mueller team for a time. He testified. Mueller said, you know, we don't want you around anymore, more or less. And Mueller never asked him whether his anti-Trump bias impacted his decision-making in terms of getting this operation going. Again, targeting Trump. Peter Strzok, at the heart of the Mueller operation for a period of time, at the heart of the Russia investigation, at the heart of the Clinton investigation. Mr. Mueller didn't talk about him. So I want Mr. Mueller to answer these questions. I want to know why he thinks hiring a bunch of Democrat donors, people connected to Hillary Clinton, anti-Trumpers, was appropriate for a special counsel investigation that was designed to reassure the people that justice would be fairly administered. The president, rightly, this week responded strongly to Mueller's operation, saying he should never have been hired. I agree with him there. The president had a business dispute. I don't know too much about the details there, but evidently it was serious enough for the president to keep on raising it, because he certainly remembered it, with Mueller over at one of his golf clubs. He was a member at his golf club. And on top of that, Mr. Mueller interviewed or wanted the job of FBI director again. So he was involved in the hiring process. He went over to the White House, supposedly. How on earth was he able to investigate how that firing came about when he was a witness to what was going on at the White House? Terribly conflicted. And of course, the special counsel operation itself was corruptly formed. And I'd like to ask Mr. Mueller this. You know, your friend James Comey has admitted to using the FBI files that I would say were stolen from the FBI on President Trump. He purposely leaked them through a cutout to the New York Times to get a special counsel appointed. He said that's why he did it. He wanted a special counsel appointed. And you were that special counsel. So given the corruption behind your appointment, why would you continue? Why didn't you wash your hands of it? And to me, that was always a big deal. The fact that once Mueller found out how he got his job and the circumstances of the appointment of a special counsel, if I were him, or if he had, I think, the ethics required to take on such a position, he should have washed his hands of the whole thing and said, you know, you find some other patsy to target your enemy, President Trump. I'm not going to be your tool. But instead, he continued this outrageous investigation. And as it goes back again to the beginning, there never was collusion. They all knew there was no collusion. They knew it from the beginning. It was confirmed in the indictments I talked about earlier of the Russians abroad. And that was in the beginning of 2017. Most charitably, the beginning of 2018. And yet they allowed this obstruction investigation to continue, even though they knew there was no collusion. Why did they do this? When did they know there was no collusion? Was it because the Democrats on that team didn't want to harm Democrat chances for the midterms by giving the president a win? Those are the sorts of questions we need to be asking Mr. Mueller. And I tell you, his ethical misdeeds this week, you just watched, if you watched that press conference, you're all witnesses to ethical misconduct by a Justice Department lawyer. And to the degree there's any ethics process in the Justice Department, and there isn't much of one, there needs to be something done in terms of investigation of not only what Mueller did, but the whole operation. Investigating investigators cannot be limited to just the genesis of Russiagate and FISA abuses, but how that Mueller operation occurred and how it operated. There ought to be an ethics audit of the Mueller Special Counsel operation, including, as it's clear, the leader, Mr. Mueller. He's proven himself to be political. To come out at this time and attack the president and smear the president again with false accusations and suggest in no uncertain terms that Congress should impeach him. I mean, if that's the case, then why did he investigate him to begin with if he thought he couldn't indict him? I've told you from the beginning this investigation was unconstitutional. The Justice Department can't investigate the president for conduct as president. The president can't investigate himself. It's just a constitutional nullity. So I don't know what Congress is going to do. The Democrats, I think, want to have Mueller testify in secret, but as I say, I think he should be testifying publicly and being asked these direct questions. I know it will be a lot of, he'll again smear Trump, but we got to get some type of accountability. And of course, we're not going to rely on Congress to do the right thing. That's why we have our, I think it's at least 10 lawsuits now on the Mueller Special Counsel operation, what it was up to. I told you earlier about Weissman hiring the anti-Trumpers on Mueller's staff. Well, we found that out through a Judicial Watch lawsuit, not through Congress and not through the media. And you can be sure that we aren't going to forget what Mr. Mueller did and the damage that special counsel did to the presidency, the rule of law, and our constitutional republic. So when I say 10 lawsuits, I'm saying that's just a start. And of course, the other side of the coin is at I should say, the other side of the same coin is the effort by the DOJ and the FBI to protect Hillary Clinton. And thankfully, the media would have you believe that we are not supposed to ask any questions about Hillary Clinton. I find it very interesting. The left is out there. I think there's a presidential candidate who suggested that they should change the name of Jackson Day dinners to something other than Jefferson because Thomas Jefferson was a problematic figure, according to the left. So you have the entire left and their echo chamber in the media establishment going around attacking 19th century politicians. But they would tell the rest of us we're not allowed to ask any questions about what Hillary Clinton did 2 years ago. Well, we're obviously not going to be cowed and intimidated by the left. And thankfully, the courts aren't either. A federal court judge, Judge Royce Lamberth, has authorized Judicial Watch to conduct discovery into the Clinton email scandal. And we do a real investigation, not like the sham investigation the FBI did. He wants to know whether FOIA was thwarted by the use of Hillary Clinton's email system, whether they were trying to hoodwink the court into shutting it down before we found out about the Clinton emails, shutting our case down. A case about Benghazi, by the way. He wants to know if there are other Clinton emails that need to be found and looked at. And he also wants to know if the Benghazi issue was one of the reasons for covering up the Clinton emails. Now, this discovery has already hit pay dirt. Top FBI official Bill Priestep, who was Peter Strzok's supervisor, ran nominally at least the Clinton and the Russia investigations for the time. He admitted they found Clinton emails in the Obama White House. Obama knew, everybody. Other documents show the Obama White House orchestrated the cover-up of the Clinton emails. The State Department was lying about whether the Clinton emails existed to begin with. And they were coordinating that lie, according to our documents, uncovered through discovery granted by a federal court over the objections of this Justice Department and this State Department. The State Department was coordinating the lie, following the lead of the Obama White House counsel's office. So the Obama White House, according to the documents we've uncovered in discovery, were orchestrating the cover-up of the Clinton emails. And the discovery continues to hit pay dirt. We have new documents produced to us. Actually, no, this is testimony. So as a result of the judge's order, the judge authorized us to depose about 10, 11 people. We've deposed, I think, 4 or 5 of them on our list thus far. One of them was the top security official at the Justice Department, the Assistant Secretary of State for Diplomatic Security. He testified under oath to Judicial Watch attorneys. And he warned Hillary Clinton, he said twice, about the use of unsecure BlackBerries and personal emails. Hillary knew. Hillary Clinton knew what she was doing was a security risk to our nation. In his deposition, his name is Eric Boswell. He's an ambassador. This is the quote. "They had come from the campaign and they were wedded to their BlackBerries. They wanted to be able to have them at their desk where they were working, and they weren't allowed to have that." Hillary Clinton and other senior State Department officials were warned in 2009 that, quote, "any unclassified BlackBerry is highly vulnerable in any setting to remotely and covertly monitoring conversations, retrieving emails, and exploiting calendars." I think you all know that, don't you? Your phones aren't secure unless they're designed to be secure. And if you're a Secretary of State, you obviously need to know that. Clinton was warned again in 2011. We also urged department users to minimize the use of personal web emails for business, as some compromised home systems have been reconfigured by these actors to automatically forward copies of all composed emails to an undisclosed recipient. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Why is that important? You recall the story, the allegation out there first raised by Congressman Louis Gohmert, congressman from Texas, that a Chinese entity of some type had done just that to Hillary Clinton's emails. Every email that she was sending out for system was being forwarded secretly, essentially to China. So when you hear James Comey excuse Clinton's misconduct with the suggestion there was no intent, how does that square with the fact that she was warned about these systems' vulnerabilities and continued to use them? You can figure that out. Let me know. Clinton assured him that she gets it when he informed her about dangers of the BlackBerries. And of course, the BlackBerry was the vehicle for her to access her secret email system. And of course, those documents, by the way, these questions came because we received the documents. We'd already gotten the FOIA documents at least 2 years ago showing she was warned about this. And his testimony is powerful because it confirms what's in the documents. Hillary talked to him about it. He swore this under oath. Clinton and her staff were wedded to their BlackBerries, as I said, and wanted to continue using them in secure areas because it was, quote, a convenience issue. Oh, there you go again. Hillary Clinton, she said that she had this secret email system because it was inconvenient to carry around more than one device. Isn't it convenient that that inconvenience argument keeps on popping up? He and other former State Department employees were surprised to learn that Clinton used ClintonEmail.com to conduct official government business. And he said they were not aware of such activity while still employed by the government. Well, I have my doubts about whether they knew or should have known about that, especially since she had a BlackBerry. I mean, didn't they wonder what she's doing on the BlackBerry? So these are one of Boswell, again, a top official at the State Department, confirming Hillary Clinton was warned repeatedly about her use of an unsecure BlackBerry and the susceptibility of personal homebrew email systems to hacking. This didn't come from the FBI. This came from Judicial Watch attorneys deposing this official a few weeks ago. The transcript is available on our internet site at judicialwatch.org. We have the video. We'd love to show it to you, but the State Department and the Justice Department came in and told the judge that we shouldn't be allowed to release the video, and the judge agreed, unfortunately, for now. So the video is under seal, but you can read the transcript. And we have more testimonies coming up soon, including the testimony of one of Clinton's lawyers, the people involved in the handling of these Freedom of Information Act requests. Remember, it was Judicial Watch's Freedom of Information Act request in the first place in this case. And another case, I believe, about her conflicts of interest, that caused the State Department to fess up they had the emails. Of course, long after she left the State Department and was able to take those emails improperly with her and delete half of them, or try to. And you know, and this other set, and we've also been pushing hard in another lawsuit for, because it's all part of an unholy mix here. You know, I talk about Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, and you know, the corrupted senior leadership of the FBI and targeting Trump. And as I say, it's the same. You can't separate that from the protection of Hillary Clinton. And in August, they are spying, the FBI is, on President Trump. And we've just uncovered documents. At the same time, they are helping Hillary Clinton, accommodating her in spectacular ways. We've sued for documents between Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. We want her text messages, all that, and emails and things like that. And the documents that we've uncovered are just unbelievable in terms of the State Department, of the the FBI working hand in glove with Hillary Clinton and her lawyers. August 15th, 2016, I'll leave it to you to figure out the timelines, as this compares to what they were doing against Trump at the same time. James Baker, general counsel under Comey, so Comey's crony, emailed his colleagues to inform them that he just spoke with Clinton's lawyer Kendall, who requested documents from the FBI. Baker says he told Kendall he would need to submit a request. Baker tells his fellow FBI officials in an email, "I think we would process it expeditiously." I said we would process it expeditiously. Expeditiously. What does expeditiously mean? Assuming I can pronounce it. It means quickly. I've been at Judicial Watch, let's say 21 years? 21 years. Expeditiously and FOIA are two words that rarely go together. We've asked for expeditious requests, that our requests be handled expeditiously. We're rarely accommodated in that regard. In fact, we're rarely answered at all. That's why we've had to sue 400 times. So to see the top lawyer of the FBI coordinating with Hillary Clinton, because when you're talking to David Kendall, you're talking to Hillary Clinton. This is the email. "I just spoke with David Kendall. I conveyed our view that in order to obtain the documents they are seeking, they need to submit a request pursuant to the Privacy Act and FOIA." Meaning Hillary Clinton would have to sign the Privacy Act request herself. "I said they could submit a letter to me covering both statutes. They will send it in the morning. I said that we would process it expeditiously." He offered to speed it along for the Clinton people. This is just a few months before the election. This is the FBI working with Hillary Clinton's lawyer. David asked us to focus first on the Secretary's 302. What's the 302? That's what they call the narrative report they create of an interview of a witness or a subject. The FBI interviews you, and they write a 302 narrative. I said, okay, we'll have to focus on this issue tomorrow and get the 302 out the door as soon as possible. and then focus on the rest of this stuff. The following day, Kendall sent his FOIA request to Baker. I tell you what, the FBI General Counsel, and we've got probably more FOIAs with the FBI than probably any other organization or person out there. Well, I'm sure there's a nut job or two who has like 1,000 FOIAs with the FBI, but we've got a bunch of document requests with the FBI. I'm sure dozens. Never in the history of Judicial Watch has the top lawyer for the FBI ever called us to give us advice and help in getting documents quickly. In fact, it's the opposite. They oppose and obstruct and stonewall us. But not if you're Hillary Clinton and they think you're going to be president. In my view, we need to move as quickly as possible, he writes his colleagues. He passed Kendall's request to a dozen top FBI officials. But pursuant to David's oral request last night, we should focus first on Secretary Clinton's 302. Is the end of the week out of the question for her 302? Evidently not. That would have been a world record response for a Judicial Watch FOIA request, but not if you're Hillary Clinton. In a follow-up email exchange the same day, top FBI lawyer Tricia Anderson starts coordinating a plan for processing and releasing the information. Then in an August 21st email exchange, this again, 2016, Baker tells his people that he would alert Kendall. I keep on taking my glasses off and I need to see. He would alert Kendall shortly before Clinton's 302 was to be posted on the FBI's FOIA Vault webpage. Sure enough, they didn't see any problem with doing that. They don't do that for us. So we'll sue and demand documents, and we're the only ones suing for it, and the FBI will throw them up on the internet and not tell us they're there, even though we sued for them. But if you're Hillary Clinton, you get special treatment and favoritism from the FBI on a politically sensitive document, which is her interview. With the FBI on her email corruption. And you may recall a few weeks ago I talked about other communications that Baker had, the top lawyer at the FBI, with Kendall. You would think that Kendall was the general counsel of the FBI at times when you look at what was going on here. And there's some other interesting material that came out as a result of this lawsuit. Again, Judicial Watch suing in court to get this information that otherwise you'd never know about. I told you about these important 302 reports that they write. Well, according to Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, there were several interviews where they didn't write the 302. So they weren't even keeping a record of these Clinton email investigation interviews. It shows you what a joke and a sham the Clinton email investigation was. So forgive me for getting a little excited, but this is pretty troubling stuff. And Judicial Watch is doing the heavy lifting here. If it weren't for Judicial Watch, you wouldn't know about this. And I would suggest that the Attorney General of the United States start taking a look at what his Justice Department is producing to us and tell his prosecutors, we need to relook at this. He's committed to looking at the way the FBI or the Clinton email investigation was handled. And another thing he can do, he can tell his Justice Department to stop opposing us in court as we're getting the discovery on the Clinton email issues. I could spend an hour talking to you about the obstruction that continues today and the battles our lawyers have to engage in with Justice Department lawyers right now who are defending Hillary Clinton, protecting the State Department and the Justice Department and the FBI from being held accountable, and the American people and the courts from finding out the truth about their misconduct. That's happening right now, and the Attorney General needs to police his own there. But our lawyers are going to keep on working hard with your support. So I tell you, between Mueller, between this corruption we've uncovered at the FBI and the Justice Department, the Attorney General of the United States and the President of the United States, I hope, recognize the Justice Department has been thoroughly corrupted. And it's not a leadership issue necessarily. It's partisan. Many of the lawyers there are partisan. They think they answer to no one. And they need to be restrained. The Justice Department is out of control, constitutionally speaking, ethically speaking, and it is a matter of public policy. So I don't know about you, but I thank God for Judicial Watch that we're there watching them. Because right now, the Justice Department is the focus of our energy at exposing what it did wrong in terms of targeting Trump, protecting Hillary Clinton, and frankly, targeting other innocent Americans like yourselves in their quest to sometimes just make people's lives miserable for the sake of making them miserable just because they can, but obviously also to extend the power of big government, lawless government, over people who get in the way of their political games. So with your support, we'll keep on doing the hard work, and thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time here on Judicial Watch's Weekly Update.